Every time you walk or run or even just nod your head, you're using one of the most sophisticated pieces of machinery on the entire planet, your own body. It's an absolutely incredible feat of engineering, and today we're going to look under the hood.
I mean, have you ever really stopped to think about it? How do we go from just a simple thought, like, I want to pick up that cup, to a complex, perfectly coordinated action? Well, the answer is this beautiful interplay of different systems all working in perfect harmony. So to make sense of it all, we're going to break our movement machine down into 3 core components. It's pretty simple, really. First, you need a structure, right? That's the framework. Then you need ways for that structure to actually bend and move. Those are the connections. And finally, you need something to power the whole thing. That's the engine.
All right, let's start with the absolute foundation of it all, the skeletal system. This is the scaffolding that gives our body its shape and, maybe more importantly, protects all of our vital organs.
A good way to think about your skeleton is like the internal steel frame of a skyscraper. It has to be incredibly strong, right? Strong enough to support your weight against gravity, but it also has to be designed in a way that allows for a massive range of motion.
And of course, not all bones are created equal. They're basically specialized tools, and they come in 4 main types, each one perfectly designed for its job. You've got long bones like the humerus in your arm for leverage, short little bones in your wrist for all those fine movements, flat bones like your sternum for protection, and these complex, irregular bones like your vertebrae, which kind of have to do a little bit of everything.
Okay, so that's the big picture. But to really get how brilliant this framework is, we have to zoom in. I mean, way, way in. What is it that makes a bone so incredibly strong, but also relatively lightweight?
The answer lies in this amazing structure called the osteon, and its design is just brilliantly simple. It really is a lot like the rings of a tree trunk. Each ring is a hollow tube of bone layered one inside the next, and it's this pattern that gives compact bone its immense strength and its resistance to fracture.
And this reveals a crucial secret. Bone is not some dead, static material at all. Not even close. Right there at the core of every single osteon is a central canal with blood vessels and nerves. There are living bone cells called osteocytes, literally trapped inside the rings, but they all stay connected through these tiny little channels. It's a living, dynamic network, constantly rebuilding and remodeling itself.
Okay, so we have our strong, living framework. But a solid frame is pretty useless for movement if it can't bend, right? And that brings us to the second part of our machine, the connections.
Joints are the genius engineering solution to this problem. They're the points where 2 or more bones meet, and they are specifically designed to allow for this incredible variety of movements while still maintaining stability. Let's just look at the most common type, the synovial joint. It's a masterpiece. The ends of the bones are capped with this super smooth cartilage that acts like a cushion. The whole thing is sealed up in a capsule that's filled with this oily synovial fluid. It lubricates the joint, just like oil in a car's engine. And then it's all held together by these tough, reinforcing ligaments.
So what can these joints do? Let's start with the most basic pair of movements. Flexion, that's when you decrease the angle of a joint, like when you bend your elbow to bring your hand up to your shoulder. And extension is the exact opposite. You're increasing that angle by straightening your arm back out. Simple, but totally fundamental.
And here's another key pair you use all the time. Abduction is moving a limb away from the center line of your body, like raising your arm out to the side. And adduction is bringing it back toward the midline. It's these simple opposing movements that really form the building blocks of every single complex action you perform.
So we've got the framework, and we have the connections that allow it to bend. But something is still missing. What actually powers all this movement? Well, that brings us to our final part, the engine.
Now, this is the crucial point. Bones and joints are passive structures. They just go along for the ride. Muscles are the active engine. They are the only tissue in your body that can actively shorten or contract. And by doing that, they pull on the bones they're attached to, and that's what creates movement across the joints.
So, how does that happen? What's going on inside a muscle that lets it generate such incredible force? Enough for the delicate touch of a finger or the explosive power of a jump? You guessed it, we have to zoom in again. Meet the sarcomere. If the osteon is the fundamental unit of bone, then the sarcomere is the fundamental engine of muscle. It's this microscopic little compartment that's filled with tiny protein filaments. And the magic, the real action, happens when these filaments slide past one another.
So picture this tiny engine. You've got thin filaments, called actin,
and thick filaments, called myosin. The action starts when these little heads on the myosin filaments grab onto the actin and pull, kind of like a crew of rowers, sliding the thin filaments toward the center. This one tiny pull shortens the sarcomere, and when millions of them do it all at once, boom, the entire muscle contracts. But here is the final piece of the puzzle. A muscle can only pull. It can't push. So for every single action, you need an opposing muscle to reverse it. This is the whole principle of agonist and antagonist pairs, and it's absolutely essential for any kind of controlled, precise movement.
Just take your arm, for example. To flex your elbow, your biceps contracts, it's the prime mover, the agonist. At that exact same moment, its opposing muscle, the triceps, has to relax and lengthen. Then, to extend your arm, the roles just reverse. The triceps contracts and the biceps relaxes. It's this constant coordinated dance that allows for smooth, controlled motion.
Okay, let's bring it all together. When you stop looking at these three systems as separate parts and you see them as one integrated whole, you really start to see the true beauty of the design. You have the skeletal framework providing the structure, you have the joints as the flexible connections allowing for motion, and you have the muscular engine providing the power to create that motion. Each part is absolutely essential, and together, they create a true symphony.
Every single thing you do, whether you're aware of it or not, is the result of this symphony. The rigid bones, the flexible joints, and the powerful muscles, all working together in this seamless, coordinated performance.
It truly is a masterpiece. An intricate, dynamic, and resilient machine that you get to pilot every single day. So the only question left is, what amazing things are you going to do with it?